Hey everybody, welcome to Weber Mobility episode number 2. I'm Jordan Weber. We're going to start in the kneeling position. If you need to stand or sit in a chair, you can do the same thing that we're doing in the kneeling position. So option 1 is seated, option 2 is standing, and if you can, go into a tall kneeling position. You can go into a collapsed kneeling position if it's not too much on your knees and ankles. So for episode number 2, we're going to go over the floor routine for the morning cars. So you can get in the collapsed or tall kneeling position, squeeze your fists. You can really dig those toes into the ground if you want more support. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and just explore the neck by bringing the chin down. Remember, nothing moves but the neck. Then we're going to rotate the chin like we're going around a clock, looking over the shoulder, up at the ceiling, across the other shoulder, and then scraping the chin across the collarbone of the other side. One more rotation. Keep everything nice and still. No rush here. All the way up to 12 o'clock, all the way around and down to 6. Now we're going to go 2 rotations the other way. Down, rotate, bend into the side, extend back, rotate, bend into the side, and flex down. One more rotation. Try not to move the body. Squeeze the fist nice and tight. All the way around and up to 12, up and around and down to 6 o'clock. Good. Again, if you need to sit or stand, you can. Go ahead and bring the hands across the chest. We're going to get the T-spine. Remember, the T-spine is from here to here. We just worked the cervical 1 to 7, and now we're working T1 to T12. We're just going to flex the upper back down, hold here. Try not to move your hips if you're seated or standing or kneeling. Rotate, bend into the side, extend back, rotate toward the other side, bend into that side, and flex forward and around. One more rotation, bend, extend back, rotate, don't move your hips, bend into that side, flex all the way around and forward. Now we're going to go 2 rotations the other way. Bend, extend back, rotate, bend, flex down. One more rotation, bend, extend back, rotate toward the other way, bend, and flex down. Good. All right. Now we're going to go into a shoulder car. So we're going to bring 1 foot forward for a half kneeling position. The opposite arm is going to go forward. You can bring your hand across your belly. Again, if you want to do this in a tall kneeling position or a seated or standing position, you can. From here, if you need to bring a pillow down for the back knee, if it's too much pressure, you can. What we're going to do is squeeze the fists, flex the shoulder. Try not to extend the back and hold here. We're going to internally rotate as we squeeze the fists all the way back and around so the back of the hand touches the side of body for half of rep 1. Then we're going to extend, externally rotate the shoulder, reach all the way up across the body and down. One more, all the way across and up. Internally rotate as you reach all the way around and back. Back of the hand next to the side, extend back. Externally rotate all the way across the body and down. Let's go ahead and do that on the other side. You can regress this by going to a tall kneeling position or a seated or standing position. From here, wrap the hand across the belly, squeeze nice and tight, internally rotate in this shoulder, and then from this shoulder flexion, squeeze the fist. Look straight in line, try not to bring your head forward and try not to extend your back. As you do that, internally rotate so that you reach all the way around and back. Back of the hand touches the side of the body. From here, extend back. Don't let the head go forward. Externally rotate the shoulder, reach all the way back, flexion across the body and down. One more. Across the body and up. Internally rotate all the way around and down. Back. Externally rotate all the way up across the body and down. that's too much on your knees, use a pillow or regress. Tall kneeling, or again, you can stand or sit. Now, for the elbows, I'm going to go in the collapsed kneeling position. If you want to, you can, or you can regress by going in the tall kneeling position or sitting in a chair. From here, we're going to extend the elbows, flex them, pretend that you're moving your arms through like mud, and then squeeze your biceps, triceps, forearms as you pronate the wrists and elbows, okay, or just the elbows. And then we're going to extend the elbows all the way, keep squeezing the biceps and triceps, supinate or turn the palms face up, keep squeezing, and go ahead and flex the elbow. We're going to do the same thing with the shoulders abducted, okay? So they're moving away from the body, the shoulders. And then we're going to extend the elbows, pronate the elbows, bend or flex the elbow, supinate the elbow, and extend the elbow. Good. Okay. For the wrists, okay, I'm going to go to the tall kneeling position. If you want to stand or sit for this one, you can. All I'm going to do is just bring those hands in front of the elbows, and then I'm going to keep my elbows glued to my rib cage. Then I'm going to extend my wrist so that my fingertips are facing down towards 6 o'clock. Remember, I don't want to internally rotate or externally rotate my shoulder, and I don't want to bend or extend my elbow. I'm just going to extend at the wrist. Middle finger is going all the way down to 6 o'clock. Now we're going to go in and around the clock, all the way up to 12. Out, this is going to be harder for me, all the way around and down to 6. In, all the way around and up to 12. Up, all the way around and down to 6. Let's go the other way. Okay, all the way around and up to 12. 12 in and all the way around and down to 6. 6 all the way around and up to 12. 12 in, all the way around and down to 6. Scapula, we're going to go into collapsed kneeling position if you'd like. Regress it by going to the tall kneeling. You can also sit or stand. Okay, we're going to squeeze the fists like we're holding on to a motorcycle handlebar, and we're kind of rounding that upper back. And then we're going to elevate the scapula, retract the scapula, depress the scapula, and then protract. So we're going to create that circle. So up, back, keep the elbows straight, down, forward. Don't move the neck. Up, back, down and around, and forward. Now try to create a circle. So try not to make a block. Try to make a circle. One more. And then let's go the other way. So this we're doing for more than 2 rotations, just to try to get that feeling. Back, up, forward, down. I'll give you a front view. Keep the elbows straight. Forward, down, back, up, forward, down, back, up, forward, down, back, and up. So that's your scapula. Okay, your scapula is what helps you shrug your shoulders. Okay, it's good for stability of the shoulder glenohumeral joint, so you can do lots of different cool things. Now we're going to get to the hips. Okay, so we learned the standing hip car, which if you'd like to do, you can do here. But this time we're going to learn it on our hands and knees. So we're going to bring our hands underneath our shoulders, knees underneath our hips, and then from here I'm going to bring my knee to my elbow, and I'm going to wrap it around. If this is too much on your wrists, you can just do the same instructions: flexion, abduction, internal rotation to extension, extension all the way around. Okay, if that's too much on your hands. Okay, so hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. If you need to get wider or longer, whatever makes you most stable, that's fine. Try not to move your back. So your hips and back shouldn't be moving. So if I put something on my back, it shouldn't move. Okay, so let's just put this here. Okay, I don't want that to move. Here we go. Knee goes to flexion, abduction, internal rotation to extension, knee hovers off the ground, extension, external rotation, deflection, forward hover, forward and up deflection, abduction, internal rotation to extension, and then extension, abduction to external rotation, all the way to flexion and down. Now we're going to get the other side. Here we go. Flexion, abduction, internal rotation to extension, knee hovers off the ground, extension, abduction, deflection, and hover, abduction, extension all the way around, hover, extension, abduction, flexion, and down. Okay, so that's the hip in the quadruped position. A little bit harder than that standing position, and definitely harder than the sideline position. Now we're going to go into knee cars in the seated position. You can do these sitting in a chair, or like we did last time, standing up, if you remember. That's basically just bending, externally rotating, and extending. And you can do this standing or seated. So I'm going to wrap my same-sided ipsilateral arm around the thigh, and I'm going to grasp the fingers together and hook on. Okay. From here, I'm going to dig this heel, keep this leg stable while I'm controlling this side here. My body is contracting, everything's working together. From here, focusing on my external and internal rotation at my tibia to start. Do I have that, or am I using my ankle? I want to be able to differentiate that. I want control of my whole lower limb together in this rotation before I start. Then I'm going to wrap and hold into external rotation, dorsiflexion of the ankle, and then extend the knee about 3/4 of the way. Then as I internally rotate, trying to squeeze here in the hamstring, and then flex all the way down as much as I can, trying to break that forearm. Externally rotate, extend, internally rotate, and bend. Now we're going to keep it internally rotated, extend the knee, externally rotate and bend, in, extend, out, and bend. Okay, switching side, same thing. Focus on that internal and external rotation at the tibia. Okay, wrap it around, same sided leg, externally rotate so it goes out, and then extend, in and down, out, up, in and down, in and up, out, and down, in and up, out, and down. Now the ankle, hold on to the shin, interlace the fingers, point the toe, plantar flex. You can just stabilize this leg here. Lean into the wall if this is hard for you to sit up, or sit in a chair. All right. From here, we're going to point the toe down, plantar flex the ankle to 6 o'clock, all the way around and up to 12 o'clock. Up all the way around and down to 6, 6 all the way around and up to 12, 12 all the way around and down to 6. 2 the other way, down all the way around, scrape the edge of that circle up to 12, all the way around, scrape the edge all the way down to 6. All the way around and up to 12. Last one, all the way up around and down to 6. Nice and slow, it's not a race. Interlace the fingers, plantar flex the ankle, all the way in and all the way around and up to 12, all the way out, all the way around and down to 6, all the way around and up to 12, 12, scrape the edge, all the way around and down to 6. Scrape the edge down, all the way around and up to 12, 12 in, all the way around and down to 6, all the way around and up to 12, 12 all the way up and around and down to 6. I think you're tracing sand. All right, now the kneecaps and the toes. We're going to go ahead and stand up for this one. Okay, you can also sit for this one as well. I'm going to do this seating. Okay, you can do it standing if you'd like, but I have more control, as you see, when I'm sitting down. So I'm going to bring all 10 toes off of the ground, and I'm going to try to spread those toes, and I'm going to try to keep the insides and outside edges of the foot and heel on the ground. Okay, all toes are lifted and separated as high as they can go and off the ground. a lot more control when I'm sitting. As you can see, I don't have to worry about balance. And then from here, I'm going to go from pinky all the way big toe down, and I'm going to hold my big toe down and try to pull those small toes up and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then switch. Big toes up, small toes down. Notice if those toes try to go near the neighboring toes. We don't want that. That'll cause a bunion. That's something we're trying to stray away from. So get those toes up nice and high. You can support them inward if you'd like, or you can use your hands if you need to. Go ahead and switch. Big toe down, small toes up. Separate those small toes. From here, all toes up. We're going to tap just the big toe down 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And then all toes down. We're going to squeeze all 10 toes. If you need to use your hands to help you squeeze those toes in together, what we're doing is just flexing those toes, shortening the midfoot, strengthening the insides of those feet. And what we're going to do from here is bring those hips back, and then we're just going to lift those toes up off the ground like you're picking up pixie dust. Okay, you're trying to pick up something really small, and you got to hold it together. And you're trying to hold sand or something that's trying to fall out of your feet, and you're going up and down, up and down. 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. Now all toes up, and move those toes around. Good. While we're here, I'm going to show you the patella car. If you didn't get it last time, it might be easier sitting down. So what we're going to do is make sure that this whole leg is relaxed. I know it's relaxed if I can just push around that meat and it wobbles side to side. From here, what I'm going to do is move the kneecap side to side with my thumbs. My fingers are just stabilizing behind the knee as I do that, and then I'm going to go up and down, side to side, up and down, and then I'm going to move and push that kneecap around in a full 360-degree circle, like I'm going around a clock, pushing the patella around the edges of the clock, and then I'm going to push it around the other way. I'm not pushing into pain. I'm not looking for pain. I'm just looking for movement, pure movement. If I'm not finding movement, or if there's some sticky spots, that's something that you write down and note, but that's not something that you need to just jab at, okay? Get assessment first. Go ahead and switch side to side with the kneecap, up and down, and then push it 360, okay? And then push the other way. Kneecaps, you can be doing kneecaps, toes, fingers, wrists, stuff like that all day long. Knees, really easy, right? But the hips and the shoulders obviously are the ones that most people forget about. For the lower spine, last card before we get into some stretching, we're going to go into our cat back and cat bottom here, where our hips are posterior pelvically tilted, squeezing the glutes, rounding the upper back, tucking the chin. Inhale into the upper back, and then blow out the air and push those ribs down and in. Inhale into the upper back. Exhale into those ribs all the way down. Good. One more. Inhale into the upper back. Exhale, ribs down and in. From here, give me a cow back. So I'll call this the power cat. I got a rounded upper back. I'm going to bring those hips back. I'm trying to get those hips away from the knees, or the butt away from the knees here as I round my upper back. I'm going to try to look down my shirt. So I'm trying to lengthen the upper back and spine here. I don't want to look all the way down. I want to try to lengthen the upper spine, or my upper neck here. So I'm trying to look down my shirt, but I'm trying not to let my chin touch my chest. So I'm kind of lengthening the upper spine. Upper back is rounded. I'm going to hold here. Inhale into that upper back. Big exhale. Blow those ribs down and in. Inhale into the upper back. Exhale, ribs down and in. One more. Inhale into the upper back. Exhale, ribs down and in. Good. From here, what we're going to do is go into a half kneeling position. And I just want you to understand your hip extension and the point of going into a kneeling position. So a kneeling position is really to activate your glutes and your hip extensors. And what we're doing here is squeezing our glutes into the kneeling position. And what I want you to think about is just trying to get those hips in front of those knees, because a lot of times we think we're in hip extension while we're kneeling. We're not actually squeezing the glutes. So we're going to hold here, squeeze the glutes, and hold isometric contraction for 5, 4, 3, 2, and then we're going to step 1 foot forward. Same thing. We're going to try to go from an anterior pelvic tilt to a posterior pelvic tilt. Squeeze this glute on this bottom side. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Immediately you should feel that hip flexor begin to stretch when you are contracting that glute, okay? And then you can deepen that stretch the more advanced you get. Go ahead and switch side. Just squeeze this glute, and that's going to automatically begin to stretch this hip flexor. Okay? You're going from an anterior pelvic tilt to a posterior pelvic tilt, squeezing this glute, stretching that hip flexor, holding here, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And those are good 5-second holds. Go for 3 to 4 reps if you're performing sets of those during your warm-up training, or if that's something you're working on. If you want to make it harder, obviously you can go more into a hip extension. You're going to lose your posterior pelvic tilt, but you're going to get more of a stretch. That's going to be a little bit more level 2 work. Okay, so work on those hip extensors by going in the half kneeling position and the half kneeling position if you're focusing on your hip extensors. For your hip flexors, we're going to focus on passive range liftoffs using a box or a chair. So all you need is a chair or a box or something to lift the foot on top of. So what we're going to do is focus on the hip flexors. Right now they're in the 90-degree hip flex position. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this position, breathe and hold, and if I can, maybe even find a higher position. So if this position, let's just say, is not enough height for me, I'm not feeling a stretch here, I might go ahead and grab something like this and say, okay, I think I want more of a challenge. Okay, I think I feel more of a stretch here in my glutes, and now I'm really shortening my hip flexor. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pressing down into either a chair or a block on top of a chair, and then after that I'm going to lift the foot off and try to hover that foot off. Okay, so a beginner might look like this. I'm going to hold here in a stretch position as far as possible as I can. All right, and then I'm going to start pressing down into the barrier, okay, to about 30% level, and then I'm going to pull up off that barrier. Okay, so we're going to do that now. So find a barrier. I'm not going to go that high, but some people will have that ability. Okay, so I'm probably just going to go up a couple books. So basically what we're doing is hip flexion, PAILs and RAiLs. We are getting into hip flexion. The progressive angle is going to be this angle here, this big angle. So as I go up, the angle gets smaller here. So the regressive angle will be when I lift off, the progressive angle when I'm trying to push down or get out of this position. So I'm going to hold here, holding on to a wall. I can use a dowel if I have one. This leg I'm going to try to keep straight as possible. Okay, I'm going to try to look forward and try not to compensate by moving the entire time. Okay, so I'm going to keep a nice body. I'm going to hold this position. Okay, inhale and exhale. I've been here long enough. Now I'm going to start pressing this foot into the barrier. 5% load. Pretend there's a scale and it's 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, or 20% intensity, 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 35 to 40% intensity, all the way to 50% intensity. I'm trying to push this foot through the books all the way down to the ground and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and now I'm going to lift off into the regressive angle or RAiLs. Hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. If you want to challenge yourself, try to extend your knee and hold. 5, 4, 3, slowly bend, hover, and then relax. Okay, so that would be hip flexion, PAILs and RAiLs. So if you have any tweaks or issues with hip flexion, or if you're trying to get more hip flexion, why do you need hip flexion? Hip flexion is going to be beneficial for your squatting and getting low and having the ability to kick or to defend yourself. So let's go ahead and switch side. Same thing, we're just going to kind of stretch and hang out here for a little bit, and we'll talk about PAILs and RAiLs again. So PAILs is pushing down into the book, into the barrier, all the way into the ground. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to use the tissues on the bottom of my thigh here, all the tissues in my leg, I'm trying to just push into the ground. And then I'm going to use all the tissues basically to pull up too. So whatever tissues I can use to push down, I'm going to 100%, and then all the way up. Okay, but remember, we're only going to go about 50% intensity today, so we're going to go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and start pressing down. 5%, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. Trying to push the foot through the barrier. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and RAiLs. Pull that knee all the way up. Hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Challenge yourself by extending the knee and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly bend it and back to your passive hold. Okay. You can also perform passive range liftoffs. So we're in a passive range. I might challenge myself in my passive range liftoffs. I can also challenge myself with PAILs in this position. The more I advance, the higher it gets, right? So passive range liftoff will be, I'm getting my hip into a passive range, and then I'm going to lift off. And then I'm going to hold for 5 to 10 seconds, okay? So I'm going to do a passive range liftoff of hip flexion. So challenge yourself. We're going to do one on each side. Here we go. Here we go. We're going to inhale, and then we're going to radiate. So our body's going to tighten up. Everything's going to be nice and strong, and then we're going to try to hold up off of the device or barrier for 5 seconds. Here we go. Inhale, radiate, and lift off. If it doesn't lift off, it's fine. Hold. 3, 2, 1, and set down or relax. Now remember, it doesn't have to actually lift off. If it doesn't lift off, then you're probably too high. For me, as you saw, that time it was too high. Let's try this other side. This side will probably be a little bit better. So same thing. If you feel like you need to passively hold for a little bit and you're already getting knotted up and tight, you might not be ready for this height. So you might have to bring the height down. We're going to take an inhale, radiate, then we're going to try to lift off. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and down. Again, I was compensating by leaning back. I probably needed to bring this barrier a little bit lower, but I want to also show you what it's like to compensate, because if you're going too hard or if you're going too high of a level like I just did, then you're going to start using other things and you're going to kind of not do what the purpose is. So make sure you find a level that works for you. So that was kind of a learning curve for you and me, because if you think about it, if I just show you the way it's supposed to be done and I don't show you anything or all the mistakes people make, then you're going to make those same mistakes. Another big mistake people make is when you're progressing and when you're regressing in your PAILs and RAiLs, if I say 1% or 5% or 10%, some people will push to 30 or 40%. So make sure you go in within your own limits and intensities and start with lower intensities. Sometimes if you push too hard, you can actually damage things. All right, so Now what we're going to learn is our hip 90-90. So the hip 90-90, if you are on a chair, I guess I can give you a good view here like this. What you can do is just kind of simply just turn like this on a chair. Then as you can, just gradually trying to lift this stuff up in the air. So maybe you're using pillows, books, and stuff until you get into the 90-90 position, okay? So if you can, get on the ground or use the table or chair. We're going to have the front knee at 90, the back knee at 90, okay? From here, what we're going to do is look forward. We're going to dorsiflex the front ankle, dorsiflex the back ankle. Front foot is in line with the back knee and shin, and we're at 90-degree knees and hips here. Almost looks like I could fit a box right here. I'm going to look forward, and instead of just rounding my back, I'm going to bring my chest forward and look for an anterior pelvic tilt, so that when I do that, I'm trying to get my butt away from my knee. So this butt on this side, I'm trying to get it away from this knee, so I feel that stretch deep in that external rotator there on that outside hip, or the glute med. From here, I'm going to just look forward, stand up nice and tall. If I need to use some books, okay, I can use some books here to kind of help me kind of position myself. I can get higher books, or I can regress by using the chair. So what I'm going to do is hold an inhale, exhale for 4, exhale for 8 if possible. If you can, inhale for 5, exhale for 10. And think about holding there for about 6 inhales, 6 exhales, because you're going to get over a minute at least. And if you think 10 inhales, 10 exhales, that's going to be your best bet. So think about 10 inhales, 10 exhales would be your best thing to do, and then at least getting 6 inhales and 6 exhales before performing any work. Because if you can't breathe into this position, then it's going to be really hard for you to do the next step, which is our PAILs and RAiLs. So we talked about the controlled articular rotations and the CARs. Now we're trying to expand space. So we talked about the hip CAR. Now we're talking about hip external rotation here and hip internal rotation. If you're not able to hold this position right now, all I want you to do is just cross your leg if you're sitting on a chair like this in the figure 4 position, okay? You can also do this on the back, and you're going to do the same exact instructions, okay? If you're able to get into that 90-90 position, you can use books if you need to. If you don't need them, don't worry about them. From here, what we're going to do is just look forward, anterior pelvic tilt. We've been here long enough. Focus on your inhale and your exhale. Inhale for 4, exhale for 8. Then what we're going to do is focus on our PAILs contraction. So our PAILs contraction in this case is going to be pressing this foot, shin, and knee through the ground, creating that isometric load. We're going to go from 0 to 40%, okay? Then we're going to pull it off into our RAiLs contraction, and we're going to try to hold that for about 10 seconds, okay? So our hips are in external hip rotation here, hips in internal hip rotation here. If you get cramped or anything, you need to stop or get out of it. That's totally fine. If it's causing pain, please do not continue. From here, we're going to start pressing this foot, shin, and knee into the ground, as well as the outer thigh stuff, and just kind of squeezing all this tissue. 5% load, using your hands to stabilize, using this back knee and foot to stabilize, looking straight ahead. 5% load into the ground, 10% load. Okay, flatten the hands if you want to. 15% load, start pushing into the ground. The whole body starts beginning to work. 20% intensity, pushing into the ground. 20% load. 25% pushing into the ground, all the way to 30%. Trying to smash this leg through the ground. Feeling that isometric load on the outside of the thigh starting to light up. Go to 35, 40% hold. We're going to hold it for 10, 9, push it in, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and lift off RAiLs. Hold 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and slowly bring it down. And then continue to hold this passive stretch for at least another 30 seconds. If you just get right out of it, you're kind of, not really doing what the purpose is, which is just to be able to relax and control this position. If you want to hinge forward and kinetic stretch, you can also do that. That's an option. That's also a stretch of its own. If you would like to do hinges here, you can also play with hovers, where you hover forward and hover back, trying to go with a hinge here, trying to keep everything straight, so not rounding the upper back. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to the other side to even it out. We're getting in that same 90-90 position, looking straight ahead this time. Front foot is aligned with the back knee and shin. Knees are at 90 degrees. Looking straight ahead, anterior pelvic tilt with the hips, chest is forward. Should feel this stuff light up on the outer hip. If you need books for support, you can use them. And we're just going to hinge forward, trying to get this glute away from this front knee. Finding that stretch, holding here. Inhale for 4, exhale for 8. And just focus on your nostril breathing here. Good. So just try to really relax into the positions first. If you can't relax, or if you get agitated, if you can't just focus on just relaxing first, then you're not going to be able to expand the space you need to in order to do the things you want to do. So make sure that one is patience. Can you sit in this position for a couple minutes? If not, you need to work up to that. Then, can you load this position in the progressive and regressive angles without pain or pinching? If possible, you're going to strengthen and improve the quality of that hip. Here we go. So we're going to start pressing this heel, shin, calf, knee, hip, outer stuff, all into the ground, about 5% intensity. Using my hands like kickstands and stabilizers to kind of push into the ground, or just keep me nice and stable. Back foot and knee and hip is also glued to the ground to keep me stable. Now I'm going to go and ramp this up to about 5 to 10% intensity, pressing this leg through the ground. 10%, 15%, 15 to 20%, 20 to 25%, 25 to 30%, 30 to 35%, 35 to 40%. Press this leg through the ground for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and rails. Pull off the ground and hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Noticing that rails is basically 100%, or you can't get that leg off. You can cheat by leaning back, and you can make it harder by leaning forward and not letting the leg move off the ground. So either or are options. From here, kinetic stretch forward and back. You can do some hovers if you want to challenge yourself. Again, trying to just relax into this position after performing the PAILs and RAiLs, because you want to kind of own that as well, and just know that you can sit here as long as you want if you needed to. Okay, if you can't, or if it hurts, that's something that you might want to pay attention to. So this is external hip rotation, PAILs and RAiLs. Now we're going to work hip internal rotation. So now this back leg is going to get some action. What we're going to do is twist toward that back leg, keep everything the same. All we're doing is going from chest forward to, we're trying to bring that chest toward the back leg, okay? And I'm trying to rotate toward this back leg. Now I can bring both hands and corkscrew them into the ground for my option 1. And breathe here. Again, 2 minutes, inhale and exhale. I've been in this position relatively long, so I don't want to do this to a beginner on their first day to kind of keep you here. So I'm just going to go over the PAILs and RAiLs quickly on this side, and if you choose to do this again, you can perform the 2-minute hold. So what I would do is begin to, option 1, corkscrew the hands, hold here for about 2 minutes. We'll quickly go over the PAILs and RAiLs on each side. I'm going to press this knee into my hand, okay? I'm trying to get out of this position to start. And then my RAiLs position, I'm going to try to lift this foot off of the ground. So I'm going to try to bring this knee away from the ground, and then I'm going to try to bring the knee toward the ground, basically working hip internal rotation on the RAiLs contraction, and I'm trying to go hip external rotation on the PAILs. Okay, so from here, start pressing this hand into the knee, knee into the hand, 5%, 10%. If you need one hand back, that's fine. 15%, 20, 25, and 30, and hold. Trying to get this off the ground. 5, 4, 3, 2, and RAiLs. Trying to get the foot off the ground. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Let's go ahead and try the other side. Again, this is hip internal rotation. We'll focus more on this in future classes. We're in the hip 90-90 position. Now we're twisting back, okay? Then we're going to bring our hands on that knee. If you're unable to, one hand behind. From here, what we would do is just stretch this position passively for about 2 minutes. But for today's purpose, I'm just going over this because I don't want to overdo too much on the first day. But what we would do is start pressing that knee into the hand into the knee. Go 5%, 10, 15, 20, 25 to 30, 35 to 40. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and then RAiLs. Trying to lift that foot off the ground and hold. If it doesn't leave the ground, that's fine. 4, 3, 2, and relax. Okay, so that's working hip internal rotation, PAILs and RAiLs, which more people need this probably than this, but both are going to be really good. Here's 2 easier ways to get hip external rotation, PAILs and RAiLs. We're going to start in the butterfly position, and what we're going to do is press the elbows into the knees, knees into the elbows. Don't round too much. If you can use a wall for support so that you don't have to worry about focusing on your core here, and you can just focus on your hips. What we're going to do is press these down, these knees down, hold, and then we're going to breathe for about 2 minutes. Passive inhale, passive exhale. In for 4, exhale for 8, in and out through the nose. Keep breathing here. And we'll do a mini set of PAILs and RAiLs. So again, if you're going to do this on your own, do this for about 2 to 3 minutes and then perform this following step. PAILs, start pressing the hands into the knees, knees into the hands. Feeling this contraction here, 5%, 10, 15. Trying to get those knees off of the ground and pushing those knees on the ground with the hands, creating that load here. Let's go 20% intensity, 25 to 30, 35 to 40, and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and RAiLs. Try to get those knees toward the ground and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Okay? For hip internal rotation, PAILs and RAiLs, what you can do is internally rotate the hip from the bear position. You can have the wall behind you for support. You don't need to, but from here I'll internally rotate the hip. PAILs, I'm going to start pressing the knee into the hand, hand into the knee. RAiLs, I'm going to go deeper into hip internal rotation. So again, I would stretch here for about 2 minutes. Inhale, exhale. PAILs, press the knee into the hands, hands into the knee. 5%, 10 to 10, 10 to 15 to 20, and hold. 3, 2, 1, and RAiLs. Hold. 3, 2, and relax. Go ahead and switch. And again, this is just a quick demonstration of hip internal rotation, PAILs and RAiLs, in the bear position with a wall support. From here, hands on the outside of the knee, hand over hand, applying that pressure, feeling that stretch in internal hip rotation. From here, hold 2 to 3 minutes. After that, PAILs, trying to abduct and trying to externally rotate the hip out of this position into the hands. Hands are barriers and blocking, creating the isometric load. 5%, 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25 to 30, and hold. 3, 2, and rails, trying to lift away, going deeper into internal rotation, going to your 50 to 60% max, never going into pain, up to 5 to 10 seconds, and then relax. Okay, so that would be quick demonstrations of hip PAILs and RAiLs for external and internal rotation. Quick setups. Remember, you want to hold each stretch for about 2 to 3 minutes. Use your diaphragmatic breathing. Get into your position safely. Then perform the PAILs upwards to 40% for beginners. If you've been moderate or advanced, you might go 50 to 80%, and if you're high level, you might go 70 to 100% intensity on your PAILs. You might hold your RAiLs longer than 5 or 10 seconds. The longer holds, the stronger you're getting, and then the more technique you use, also it's going to make it harder. So if you're not compensating, if you're not leaning and stuff like that, you're actually using more control. So this was more of a hip focus, external rotation, internal rotation, PAILs and RAiLs focus video. We did do a PAILs and RAiLs hip flexion, and we did some passive range liftoffs from hip flexion, so you got to know a little bit more about the system. I'm going to keep training you and teaching you. Stay tuned for episode number 3. Remember, message me on Instagram and or on YouTube, or email me at jordanaaronweber@gmail.com. This is a reminder that after you perform your CARs and your PAILs and RAiLs, go walk, perform strength exercises, perform your power movements, perform your conditioning activities, because mobility is just one of the 4 buckets. Okay, so you have mobility, strength, power, and conditioning. So it's not enough just to do mobility. All right, thanks a lot.